Yes, what's going on, friends, and welcome on back to Football Therapy with me, your host, Jan. As always, my friend, I do hope you're doing well, I really do hope that, and welcome back to Chelsea News, which is the daily series here on the channel where I reflect on what's being said about Chelsea, giving you my thoughts on it, but more importantly, as always, asking for yours. I've got some OBS stuff set up again here, so we can really get into it. Do some crash zooms, some screen shares. Of course, there is lots to talk about Chelsea. I want to speak about the penalty incident with Maresca very quickly and briefly. Some stuff about Chelsea January transfer priorities. Wow, that's easy to say. Keris Jones has wrote a piece on The Athletic about why Chelsea aren't playing well. I wouldn't mind having a little moonwalk through that. There's talks about Nico Jackson, how he didn't actually want to leave Chelsea, but I'll leave that for the moment. And of course, we're playing Bournemouth tomorrow, so I want to build a lineup for that to preview the game. We can talk a little bit more loosely and broadly about the players that could/should be used. It's a tricky situation, I must say, but I'm delighted to have you here with me, friends. Thank you so much for your continued support here on Football Therapy. If you do enjoy my content, please do let me know by dropping a like, hyping up the video down there somewhere. Subscribing if you're new, or if you're yet to subscribe, why don't you jump aboard the good ship Football Therapy? And yeah, you can check it out on podcast platforms like Spotify and Apple Podcasts and stuff. I really do appreciate your support there as well. If you can't watch the video, or just go and 5-star it. That's nice, isn't it? Right, let's get into it. Yep, got me a transition. So, Football.London are referencing the fact how Chelsea should have had a penalty with the Ian Maatsen handball. Chelsea got to get a new referee verdict on the controversial Maatsen handball. I've changed my mind. Now, I don't want to go into this too much, but it's essentially saying, yeah, Maatsen, the way he closes his eyes and the ball hits his arm in the box, that Chelsea should have had a handball, a penalty, in fact. Don't want to get into it too much. We all know the true underlying narrative of that game. Perhaps is Keris Jones, the journalist from The Athletic? Yes, she might get into a little bit more depth. But, yeah, incredibly good first half, first 60 minutes. Still just the recurring themes of this young and vulnerable team. We are still somehow in top 5, despite one win in 5 Premier League games. I keep saying that. I hope that indeed is the form. The truth is, like, it's the context that hurts, because we are still on for our targets, which is qualifying for Champions League while playing in Champions League, which is tricky, high level, and then competing in the domestic cups, of which one of them we're in a quarter-final against Arsenal, who we played quite well against recently with 10 men. You beat Arsenal and get to a final, you hopefully beat Bournemouth and put in a performance against Man City. Everything can turn around very quickly, and people just shrug their shoulders and go, that's Chelsea. They're up and down, but, don't get too excited about this good form. Because until Chelsea do essentially, and this is going to make me feel sick saying that, but until we do what Arsenal are doing and just consistently performing like a big boy team, people will expect, and rightly expect, this downturn of form and these peculiar halves of football, like the first half against Newcastle, of course the second half against Villa. It's stinky stuff, ladies and gentlemen, I must say. Just very quickly, look, let's have a look at this. This is on thestandard.co.uk, Chelsea transfer window guide. 2 key priorities as club draws up plans for 2026. What plans have they got drawn up for us, I wonder? Yeah, let's have a quick look through here. Chelsea have spent almost £1.5 billion on transfer fees since Todd Boehly Clear Lake Capital regime took over Stamford Bridge back in 2022. It's getting on 4 years now, guys. While they could still do better with a quality centre-back and up front, I'm just on my knees for a good striker. The Blues won their first 2 pieces of silverware since the Roman Abramovich era, of course, and another positive season during the summer, and another positive season is unfolding. Wait, what positive season? I mean, it could be positive, but I think it's a little bit premature to be like, this is a positive season. Chelsea's current owners much prefer revamping the squad in summer windows rather than January, which is funny because, of course, they did set the record for the most, money spent in that January transfer window where we bought Enzo Fernandez and Mudryk and it all went mental. But that does not mean they are closed off to opportunities in the winter market, if they present. As demonstrated when they contacted representatives of Antoine Semenyo, before deciding not to pursue a move for the highly sought-after Bournemouth forward after all. That doesn't make me feel better. Guys, they will do January. They made a phone... Hold on, let's use the Zoom. They made a phone call. Yeah, they called up. But they look, don't worry, because they called him and decided not to do it. Yeah? It's like, I don't know, I can't think of a very, clever analogy. But still, it's a tease. It's not fair. Just go and do something or don't. I realise it's tricky because we've got more wingers. Then, I've had hot meals in my life and we've got, Giovanni Kender joining. He's joining. Stevau will be older and play more, hopefully. So I get it. But we have an underperforming left side and striker position. Interestingly, top priority here is centre-back is where Chelsea are most light. They have Trevoh Chalobah, Wesley Fofana, who, by the way, both have been playing well, and, when they played together. Benoit Badiashile, no, it's not so much. I've kind of given up on Benoit Badiashile. I was like, yeah, he's much younger than Disasi. Of course, they're both French centre-backs from Monaco. He's younger than Disasi. He's a left footer, so he's a left sider. He's a bit more rare. He's really big, and his passing at times looked quite good. So I understand why he was the one that the likes of Maresca, maybe the Chelsea hierarchy, are thinking, yeah, it's about Benoit. We keep this kid. Or man, he's a giant man, isn't he? But I've sort of given up on him, and the fact how he plays more than Joshua Champong, who's being listed here, who can play on the left as well, is pretty criminal. Maresca all is, after the Leeds game, he said it was his biggest regret not playing Joshua Champong. But, talk is cheap, man. Talk is cheap. As well as Aaron Anselmino, of course, who's highly rated Argentine centre-back, and Mamadou Sarr performing well out on loan. So there is a lot. And, of course, there is Levi Colwill, who is meant to be our best centre-back. In fact, the good times, yeah? The cup finals, the big wins in cup finals against Real Betis and, of course, Paris Saint-Germain. Nous gagnons cette match. They all had Levi Colwill at centre-back. He's not there, and he's going to come back, but what's he going to be like when he comes back as well? Standard Sport understands Chelsea are set for a quiet January and may not sign someone, but their keenness to add experienced centre-back most likely next summer. Are we? Are we keen? Because Maresca, I'm twisted up here, guys, because I'm hearing all kinds of stuff that it is... Maresca doesn't care about, experienced centre-back. Last time he was asked about that in a press conference, he said, look, our experienced centre-back, Tosin, who's like 28 or something, basically saying, yeah, he played like trash and he's the experienced player. I like playing young players. He said that. And then we're hearing briefings that, Maresca's really upset and annoyed that he doesn't have experienced centre-back. So I don't know what or who to believe anymore, but many people would probably say, yeah, bring in an experienced centre-back. There was links of like Rudiger, right? Because he's like having his contract run down, and I would love that. Stick Rudiger in there, even just for a bit of chaos. He loves a goal. He did get absolutely ruined by Erling Haaland in the Champions League recently, but that can sort of happen to people, right? We love Rudy. Oh, my neck just clicked. Other areas, apparently, we're prioritising central midfield, which I, again, think's kind of mental. Kendry Pires is an attacking midfielder. Apparently, he's not doing well. He's got his lifestyle problems. He's like the opposite of a Stevau, who is like a God-fearing, humble, sweet young boy that when there's rap music in the dressing room, he puts like gospel choir on his headphones, And then I think Kendry Pires apparently has lifestyle issues and is struggling to integrate at Strasbourg, and did have troubles before in Ecuador. Then I don't know. I don't want to judge him just yet. But apparently, of course, we rely so heavily on Caicedo and Fernandez that they want some more depth. Well, in theory, Santos and Lavia. Santos, I think, has been not quite criminally underused, but underused. I can understand it's tough that if you do have these two available, you want continuity. But sometimes you just got to be brave and throw a Santos in there, you know? And of course, Lavia is, Schrodinger's midfielder. Does he exist? Or is he just always injured? Yes, clarity is needed on whether Rob Sanchez is going to be the long-term number one. Again, let's do it together. Touch wood. Rob Sanchez is playing well. Let's judge him at the end of the season. And of course, Mike Penders been seen as his natural successor on loan at Strasbourg. There's some possible ins here, but they're like 13-year-old, freaking Peruvians from some sort of league that I don't know. There is just a couple of teenagers they're looking at. And of course, the possible outs are Raheem the Dream Sterling. That's giving me nightmares. I should have just said Raheem the Dream. That's giving me nightmares. That is a line. What was the line from Peter Drury when Mason Mount went to Manchester United? It was, Mason Mount, the boy who had a dream at Chelsea, who moved to the theatre of dreams, Man United, and is now having nightmares. Incredible. So he is a wordsmith. Look, I wish no ill will. I've got no axe to grind with Mason Mount, but he defected to the enemy, and if he's having a terrible time, it's funny. But actually, he's picked up a little bit there. I mean, he's a great player, Mount. He'll be good for them, but that was funny. And Disassi, of course, Disassi will almost certainly go. And he's got clubs that want him, but of course we can't really loan him because we've used all the international loan spots. So therefore, we have to flog him rather than loaning him. Big European clubs are also following Joshua Chiampong and level of game time. We've heard this briefing. He's not going anywhere. I think there will be riots if we sell Joshua Chiampong and, we're playing the likes of Benoit Badiashile. There's talks about a 6-month loan just so he plays a bit. But no, we need him, and Maresca needs to play him. That's my position. Chelsea may wish not to sanction his exit, Champong. Dario Sugo is the same situation. I mean, he hasn't played. Interesting one here. Academy star Shim Moeka is ready for first-team football. A loan will be openly considered. He's 17. He's wicked as well. I watched him play live at the beginning of the season. I really like him. I understand why Q's being used over him at the moment, but I go loan him out, and by the time he's 20, he might just be the boy. Do you know what I mean? Love that for him. Right, so we will end and build a lineup for Bournemouth, guys. Don't worry, but I do want to do this article here and get into the weeds a little bit more. This is an Athletic article from Keris Jones. Good teams win when they play badly. Chelsea don't win when they play well, which is great stuff. Lovely bit of gear, that. How did Chelsea turn one of their most impressive hours of the season into a defeat? And it's true. For opening 60 minutes at Stamford Bridge on Saturday, they dominated against Premier League form side Aston Villa. Of course, 10 wins in a row, now 11, courtesy of Chelsea. Chelsea created the better chances, were stronger in the midfield duels, and smothered Villa's attempts to counter-attack. João Pedro's opening goal in the 37th minute was no more than they deserved. I'd argue we should have been 2 or 3-0 up. But it was a reverse of their surprise comeback to draw 2-2 away at Newcastle United, who of course are struggling themselves. In the previous match week earlier, a collapse in the final half hour saw them lose 2-1. It's the 4th time Chelsea have dropped points from a winning position in their first 9 home matches of the Premier League. I think no team's lost more points from winning positions than Chelsea. And obviously no team has won more from losing positions than Aston Villa. Which of course was a recipe for that result, right? Yuck. This result has to be the most frustrating of those. It perfectly demonstrates how Chelsea are capable of competing with the division's best teams. We can do it. We can do it. Arsenal, Villa, Barcelona, PSG. Demonstrates best teams, but how moments continue to let them down. The top sides can win when they play badly. Enzo Maresca's Chelsea don't win when they've and it was true domination. It's so excuse me, so pertinent. It was such domination for an hour. The first half on Saturday in ways was a performance befitting title challengers. Head coach Maresca's setup nullified Villa's attackers while allowing Chelsea to pose plenty of threat from wide areas, and they remained organised and disciplined. It was a catalogue of moments that let them down. Excuse me, I've got some allergies at the moment. It's like I was saying that Dougie, or is it Dougie? He calls himself Dougie. It's a bit weird. Critchley He's that sort of football analyst that says Maresca's Chelsea is so much better this season. Watching that Aston Villa game, and he obviously tweeted before it all collapsed. But the way Chelsea were generally playing is like, this is so impressive. It's so hard to praise that performance after you flop like a bunch of scared children and lose 2-1 at the end at home. It's so difficult because football's a results game, yeah? And you just feel like, you're clutching at straws when you say stuff. But it is, that body of football, like Villa didn't know what to do. Ultimately, it doesn't matter because Unai sorted it out. He made the subs. He's such an impressive coach, massively underrated. And Maresca was sitting up in the stands with his touchline ban, thinking, what the hell is going on in front of me? 1 second, let me just prepare the next. Right, let's continue on. There was no single culprit. Cole Palmer took on a difficult shot rather than teeing up Joao Pedro Fernandez 2 minutes in. Yep. He did look good, though. Fernandez failed to hit the target in the 18th minute. That was an excellent combinational move. And Alejandro Garnacho took too long to work his way past Matty Cash on simple occasions. Multiple occasions, not simple. Multiple, probably simple occasions as well. Garnacho, what a frustrating player. Does so much right to do so much wrong. That should be his tagline. Despite the Villa right back being booked in the first half. Yeah, man. That's so annoyed that we got two of their most important players suspended for the Arsenal game, but not sent off for us. So they beat us, and then we help Arsenal. We don't help ourselves to help Arsenal, basically. Yucky. There were several moments Chelsea could have been more ruthless, agreed, and killed off the game. Ollie Watkins showed them exactly how to do that with 2 goals in the final half hour. That's what I said in my match review at the time. Ollie Watkins shows Maresca precisely what he's missing. A just semi-competent big boy striker. Yeah. You don't even have to be like a Galactico. Just be like, I am not a silly sausage. Could be Watkins, could be Mateta, could be what's his face, the Brentford striker, I forget his name. Other options are available. Dare I say, I was about to say Gyökeres. I think Gyökeres is literal potential trash, but and I'm not saying that Joao Pedro isn't a talented player. He's clearly a talented footballer. Yeah, that goal he scored against Newcastle was excellent, but he's just this weird auxiliary forward that I don't really know what he is. It's kind of Nkunku all over again, who, by the way, is having a lovely time over in City. He just won man of the match, scored 2 goals, and they went top of the table before Inter played and won. But they're 1 point off the top. The likes of Nkunku and Pulisic got like 10 goals this season. Anyway, different league, different vibes. I wonder if Joao Pedro is a slightly more Premier League appropriate sort of hybrid like Nkunku. I actually think Nkunku's a much better finisher than Joao Pedro, but I think Joao Pedro is more appropriate to play in the Premier League. If that makes sense? If you could combine Joao Pedro and Nkunku, I think you'd have a very good footballer. That still isn't an actual striker either. Excuse me. There's still not an actual striker. That's very sad. There were several moments where Chelsea could have been more ruthless and killed off the game. We've spoken about that. Yes. Ollie Watkins did it. By the time we conceded the first goal, we should have scored 2 or 3 goals, says Maresca. And after the goal we conceded, the game completely changed. Which means we flopped like scared little boys. The wastefulness cost them dearly. Villa are well versed in comebacks. They've won more points than anyone else from losing positions. Yes, I've said that. Chelsea's failure to capitalise on opportunities to double their lead and more allowed Villa manager valuable time to work out the turn of the tide. That's the thing as well, isn't it? This is a really important point here. Because, yes, Unai Emery's excellent and he figured it out. But, and like, you could be like, oh, our managers didn't figure it out, theirs did. Yada, 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 that's why he's good, we're bad. Which is a little bit unfair, actually, because what you should say is Chelsea should have been 3-0 up and there wouldn't have been an opportunity to fix it. Do you know what I mean? Like they would have been more risking in the second half. Like, we got to score a goal and maybe we defend a bit deeper and then we get him on the break and score another one. The whole game state changes. So I kind of feel sorry for Maresca in this criticism because he actually set up perfectly and Chelsea were playing incredibly well. His game plan was excellent until Unai figured it out we didn't capitalise before. I don't know how hamstrung Maresca was that he wasn't on the touchline. Maybe a bit. And I do feel a little bit sorry for Maresca. I know a lot of people are criticising him, even, in the comments in this channel. That's fine. It's a game of opinions. I don't think, I'm not 100% on him, but I'm pretty firm on him in terms of don't clip that. Don't take that out of context. I think probably it's tough, Anyway, look, this article goes on. You can check it out. She's a great writer, Keris. But yeah, it's the same old stuff, innit? And is Kenda and Omega the solution to our finishing problems? I don't think so. But there's people at Chelsea that get paid millions of pounds to analyse what's wrong. Fans will always have opinions, whether it used to be down in the pub and then it was social media and here on YouTube in the comments or listening on Spotify, or you can watch on Spotify as well, by the way, if you're interested in that. Everyone has opinions, but the truth is that people will get paid millions of pounds to analyse what the problem is here. And I'm looking at it going, it's a big striker that can just kick the ball in the net properly. But they'll be going, oh, actually, it's what's happening here. There's a weak spot in the left pocket in transition here where the striker never gets in the right position because the shape's wrong. And actually, if we fix this thing deep here, it'll resolve itself up the pitch. Do you know what I mean? There could be a recurring theme that make a sense. And then we'll be tutto bene, etc. Anyway, we're about to play Bournemouth, the Cherries. Yeah, I'm absolutely. I'm trying not to swear. Bricking myself because I have no idea what's going to happen to us. Just generally moving forwards. Their run of results. They've lost to Sunderland at a red card. They've hold on. Where am I? I am. So they were in bad shape, bro. Obviously, they had that fun. They had a 0-0 against us the other day. It literally was the other day. That's wild how we're playing them. We're playing them less than a month apart in the league. That's kind of crazy. We drew 0-0 with them away. Then they had a weird 4-4 with Man United. Then they had a 1-1 draw at home to Burnley. And then they lost 4-1 to a really surprisingly good Brentford side, and now they go to Stamford Bridge. It's at home again. My God, they just lost 4-1 to Brentford, and they go to Stamford Bridge. We have to win this game. There will never be a more must-win game than this. If we do not win this game, I'm going to walk into the sea and never come back. So they've got good players though, and again, Andoni Iraola. This is your save. A lot of tacticos and football hipsters are like, get Andoni Iraola, sack Maresca, get this guy in. He's still got good players. I'm looking at obviously got Semenyo and Deadman, who's going to be gone in January to Man City. But we did call them up. We spoke on the phone, so Let's build a lineup then, shall we? Here we go. It starts as a 4-2-3-1, but is it? Sanchez in goal because he's a good goalkeeper, apparently. Reece James will play. Oh, or will he? Hold on. Let's think about this properly. I'm getting overexcited. Reece James was deployed against Aston Villa to defend against Morgan Rogers, which he did incredibly well, by the way. I'm going to switch this up here. Caicedo is going to play in the midfield with Reece James, yeah? I'm changing it up. Right back is going to be Malo Gusto. I'm going to reignite the Chalobah Wesley Fofana centre-back partnership. That did well for a long time, and we need Wesley. I'm starting to feel a lot better, actually, looking at this. Left back has to be Cucurella. Came off with a hamstring complaint. I hope he's okay. Even though he's not been top form, Mark Cucurella, we absolutely need to play him. So we've got Rob Sanchez in goal, Cucurella left back, Chalobah left centre back, Wes Fofana right centre back, and Malo Gusto at right back with Reece James and Caicedo in the midfield. Spoiler: I am going to drop Enzo Fernandez. Now this is tough, right? Listen, we dropped him against Newcastle, and then he came on and we were a lot better. So you might think, oh, we need to play him. But maybe actually he's, at the moment, just a good bench player. Cole Palmer, for me, starts in the 10. From what Maresca said, it sounds like he's just saving him to start him. So that's a midfield three of Caicedo, Reece James, and Cole Palmer, with Palmer on the free roll. And so, this is where it gets a little bit spicy. I am going to drop both those left wingers and play Neto on the left wing, and I'm going to start Estevao on the right wing. And you have to play, even though I'm João Pedro and Delap have both, not been great at the moment. Are you starting João Pedro? Of course, you could play Neto, false 9, and then you play Garnacho. I could do that, but João Pedro, I know that goal was the worst goal he'll ever score. He still scored it. He's still getting the old goal. So that's pretty strong. That is pretty strong. That will be a conventional back four with no inversions, although Gusto might get forwards a little bit. But I want to see that, and of course Palmer and Estevao can swap in game. I mean, all of them could swap, really. I mean, Neto could move over, but I don't think Palmer or Estevao wants to play on the left. They're all left footers. I've got an attacking midfield three of all left footers. Is that clever? I'm not sure that's smart. Anyway, that's what I'm doing. Conventional fullbacks in Cucurella forwards and Gusto forwards, and Reece James, just in friggin' Reece James and Caicedo just dominating the midfield. That is my starting lineup, and hopefully we win and everyone starts to feel better about things. And Arsenal lose, that would be nice. Arsenal lose, Villa win. Everyone can start supporting Aston Villa to win the league over Man City and Arsenal, and everything is going to be okay. Right? Let me know your thoughts. Please do leave them in the comment section, mate. I'm very grateful for your support, as always, for liking and subscribing. Follow on Spotify and give me a 5-star rating. Huh? That's very kind of you. I don't think they help that much in the algorithm, but it looks good. And it takes you a second. So thanks, mate. Alright, keep it locked. I hope to see you back here soon. Take care of yourselves. Peace.